1923's train station origin is the secret downfall of the Duttons in Yellowstone. 1923 Season 2 planted the seeds for the downfall of the Dutton family in Yellowstone. Set about a century before the modern-day trials and tribulations of John Dutton I.E., Kevin Costner, and his 3 children, Beth, Kelly Riley, Jamie, Wes Bentley, and Case, Luke Grimes. 1923 is about the Duttons' fight to save the Yellowstone Dutton Ranch from Thomas Whitfield's, Timothy Dalton, hostile takeover. The Duttons of 1923 are of a different breed than their descendants in Yellowstone. In Yellowstone, John Dutton often dispatches Rip Wheeler, Cole Hauser, to handle the ranch's dirty work, getting rid of the Duttons' enemies. This usually involves sending foes to the train station, a region between Montana and Wyoming that has no population and no laws. Many Dutton enemies have gone to the train station, including Jamie Dutton, who was eliminated by Beth in Yellowstone's series finale. The Duttons' liberal use of the train station is indicative of how different John and his brood are from their 1923 ancestors. John Dutton I.E. and his family in Yellowstone are morally gray compared to Jacob Dutton, Harrison Ford, Kara Dutton, Helen Mirren, Spencer Dutton, Brandon Sklenar, and their 1923 family. True, 1923's Duttons kill their enemies, including Spencer executing Thomas Whitfield in cold blood in 1923 Season 2's finale. Yet the Prohibition-era Duttons seem to be more pure of heart and less morally compromised. One reason why is that the Duttons of 1923 have yet to learn about the train station. The train station was the invention of Thomas Whitfield in 1923. The sadistic British millionaire realized the unpolished zone between Montana and Wyoming would be the ideal place to send the Duttons once he had killed them and taken their land. Whitfield only sent one victim to the train station, a sex worker named Christy Kaylin Rice, and Jack Dutton, Darren Mann, was spared this fate when he was killed by Whitfield's men. But in the decades between 1923 and Yellowstone, the Duttons made the train station their own, and it cost them the moral high ground. John Dutton and his family are Yellowstone's protagonists, but it's hard to argue that they are good people. Whereas Jacob and Spencer Dutton live in an era torn between the rules of civilization and the lawlessness of the Old West, John Dutton breaks countless laws in the 21st century for what he believes is a higher cause. The Dutton family's claim on the Yellowstone Ranch, which must be preserved at any cost. The train station is the main symbol of the Duttons' ethical fall from grace. How can the Duttons and their employees be good people if they kill and send their enemies to the train station? Yellowstone's cowboys like Walker, Ryan Bingham, and Jimmy Herdstrom, Jefferson White, doubt their employers are honorable people, considering the crimes the Duttons commit in the name of preserving their land. The Duttons adopting the train station, which was invented by the Duttons' first wealthy enemy, to use against their own foes, makes them no better than men like Thomas Whitfield. Somewhere in the long ride between 1923 and Yellowstone, the Duttons gave up the moral high ground for the cause of protecting their ranch at any cost, and their use of the train station symbolizes their downfall. They call it the train station, though no timetable ever hung on its walls, and no conductor ever called out destinations. It sits 3 ridges west of the Yellowstone Dutton Ranch, a cleft of basalt where the land itself seems to swallow sound. The rails that once glinted there were torn up in the spring of 1923, after the last cattle car shuddered through and the final whistle curled into the fur-lined sky. Locals who still whisper about it insist the iron was hauled off to Billings for scrap, but the truth, buried with the torn ties and riveted into the Dutton family marrow, is far stranger and infinitely darker. Back then, the Dutton brand was still soft with promise. Jacob and Kara had steered the ranch through droughts and dusted gun barrels alike. Their nephews and wayward cousins rode fence lines dreaming of railroad spurs that would ferry prime beef east and gilt opportunities west. The National Reclamation Act had tempted speculators into Montana, and for a season the Duttons flirted with progress. A private siding, a miniature freight platform, and, most fatal of all, a handshake deal with the Northwestern Pacific to build a whistle stop on Dutton acreage. They envisioned wagons of cattle whisked away at dawn, returning by dusk with pallets of coal and steel. Jacob pictured balance sheets inked in black. Kara longed for dry goods catalogs and coffee beans that didn't arrive stale from Street Louis. What they did not see, could not imagine, was the shadow that would follow every rail spike hammered into their soil. Because rails invite passengers as eagerly as freight, and in February 1923, the wrong passenger found his way north. His name was Clarence "Clary" Coulter, an Easterner with velvet gloves and a smile polished like a church pew. Clary dealt in options, mineral rights, water claims, and secrets. He had mined rumors of silver seams in Paradise Valley, but when those veins proved shock instead of ore, he turned his ledger toward men's weaknesses. The train station, still half-finished and ghost-quiet, became his stage. Clary recognized something in the Duttons that even they refused to name: a hunger to hold the land at any cost. He heard it on Jack's breath when the young cowboy hissed about sheep herders inching over the crest, saw it in Jacob's knuckles when he learned the state plan to tax every linear foot of new rail laid. So Clary made an offer as slick as locomotive grease. "Let my men finish your siding privately. No ledgers, no state surveyors. In return, you grant me a modest line on the south pasture, just until my investors recoup material costs." Jacob balked. Kara warned that lions grow like thistles. But progress had its own whistle, shrill and relentless, drowning out caution. The siding was completed in 12 nights under hooded lanterns. No records were filed, no deeds notarized. And on the 13th dawn, the first unmarked train arrived. 3 battered boxcars and a blacked-out caboose. Out stepped 32 miners, each carrying more dynamite than belongings. Clary had not been chasing silver after all. He was hunting something older, deeper, pockets of pitchblende rumored to shimmer beneath the southern rise, the very hill the Dutton cattle climbed for sweet spring grass. Uranium, though none yet spoke that word. They simply called it the Miracle Rock, whispering how a single pebble glowed brighter than a lantern mantle. The miners tunneled, and with every blast the land shook in the Dutton bones. Springs turned milky. Calves were born twitching. Jack's young bride, Elizabeth, woke to a horizon thumping orange at midnight, as though hell had chosen Montana for its stage. Still, Jacob honored the handshake, until Clary's lion papers arrived inked with a banker's seal, legal as sunrise. The lion had metastasized into ownership, mortgaging not just the south pasture but water rights clear to the Yellowstone River. The Duttons rode out at dawn armed with rifles, and the old Civil War Colt kept beneath Jacob's bed. They found Clary beside the rails, supervising another dynamite crate. Word spattered like cold rain. Breach of contract, stolen water, poison springs. Clary only smiled. "You signed to progress," he said, "and progress never looks back." The shootout lasted scarce a minute. 6 miners fell, so did young John Dutton I, whom history books later rebrand as a rancher lost to influenza. Clary staggered into the half-finished depot, blood stippling his vest, and vanished between boxcars that somehow were already rolling. Jacob wanted pursuit, but the rails ended in a cliff of splintered ties, as though the train had cut its own ghost track into oblivion. Afterward, the Duttons buried their dead under unmarked stones and their shame even deeper. They tore up the rails, soaked the ground in kerosene, and lit a fire so fierce the basalt cliffs ran like candle wax. The scorched gulch became what modern ranch hands call the train station, a place where problems disappear. On long winter nights, they dump rusted appliances there, shoot crippled horses, or worse. No map marks it, yet everyone knows the road. What few remember is that the train station is not a dump. It is a wound that never sealed. For beneath the ashen clinker, the miners' tunnels remain, inhaling and exhaling the slow poison of crushed ore. Radioactive dust leaches into groundwater, curling through the valley like a rattlesnake in tall grass. The hay that fattens Dutton cattle carries the whisper of those isotopes. The beef commands top dollar in Manhattan steakhouses, even as it salts an unseen doom into the family's blood.